Welcome all. Welcome to our GMS Club drop-in session number 4. Good to see a number of you joining. Simon Davis, back for more. This is your 4th attendance. I'm loving it. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Tonight's session is on course booking and voucher codes. And I'm not coming from a prison cell here. I'm coming at Bedford Blues Rugby Club, who are kindly hosting me tonight before another meeting that I'm at after this one. So welcome today. If you can't hear me, then please do check your connection. Matt, if you can just move the slides on, that'd be great. Ask in the chat if you need any help tonight. As ever, we do have a support team in the chat. Chloe Burgess is leading that. So if you've got any questions throughout the session, please do ask. Bit of housekeeping. Keep your microphones on mute, please, especially those who are just joining. Just find that mute button for me. Otherwise, Chris, my comms guy, is going to have to mute you. So thanks for joining. Hey, Stephen, good to see you. Please use that chat function throughout the session. Any questions that you have throughout that may come in your head, just get them in the chat and we can ask them. We are going to be recording this session. It will go on our RFU YouTube channel, where you can also see some of our other recordings around GMS, so please check that out. We do intend to finish by 7 o'clock as ever, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my colleague Matt Watts, who will be taking you through this presentation for sort of 20 minutes, and then we'll have our Q&A where you get a chance to come off mic, speak, or you can type your questions in the chat and I can pull them out. So hopefully we'll have a good session. Thank you.
Cheers, Ian. Thanks for inviting me on to today's drop-in session. As Ian sort of said, I'll only be talking for 20 minutes or so on the course booking process and the new voucher codes process that we've got to talk through today. And then we'll open up for any questions as per last week right at the end. So we touched on it there, but what are we going to cover today? We're going to have a look at the current booking process, which will hopefully give us some really good context to what the new voucher code process includes and then how it's going to support you in the game more broadly to help your coaches, referees and volunteers to access training. So before we got into the bulk of today's session, I thought it was really worthwhile pointing out that since we started using EMS, which is the sort of training admin element of GMS, over 115,000 people have made unique bookings on the system, which is really positive and shows that the system as it currently stands, where the individual books themselves onto a course and then pays at the point of booking, is clearly working well, and there's been some success in that. So that means that we've got more volunteers that are taking control of their data, and throughout some of these new processes, that'll be something that we look to continue. So the cleaner the data is in terms of us knowing about how many active coaches we've got and then what training they're accessing, that's going to in turn inform the quality of the training provision that we could provide. So that high quality of data is really important, and we'll reference that throughout tonight. So we'd predict that the vast majority of course bookings will continue to happen this way, despite the course vouchers process. So it's really important to acknowledge that the course vouchers process is purely optional and to support you to help your members access training. It's not another process that you have to do. And like I said, we'd still imagine that the vast majority of course bookings will continue under the current process where the individual books themselves on. So to start off today's course, I'm just going to take you through what that process looks like now. So we're going to go through what the course, how to book a course as an individual, and then how that individual can access their education and qualifications tab. I've got a little short demo video to explain that. Unfortunately, it is my voice talking over it, so you have to just play with that for a little while. But yeah, I'll play it without further ado. So we're just going to take a quick look at how I can access the qualifications and education that I've already taken part in, and then also how I can book myself onto a course in the future. So obviously I log into GMS and I head up to the profile picture in the right hand corner, and I select qualifications.
Now this will pull through all of the qualifications that I've completed that have got an assigned course to them, and a new feature that you can see on the side is view certificate. So for all courses going forwards, there'll be an option to view certificate for candidates as well. And then secondary, I've got my sort of education tab, which basically tracks a history of courses I might have attended that don't have a qualification associated to them. It also gives me an update on what my status is. So as an example, you can see that I've tried to book onto a first aid at Billericay course, but I cancelled my place on that course. So I can see the status of my course, whether I attended it, whether I was registered, or whether I just cancelled my place entirely. So that gives you an idea about how to check your current qualifications and current education sort of courses. If I go back to my main dashboard, and once that's loaded up, if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see upcoming events, and then I can select find a course. This will upload the GMS course finder, and then it automatically sets a range of 25 miles from your home address. So as you can see, I live in the middle of nowhere, so not many courses there for me. I might want to extend that to 50 as an example, and then hit search, and that will give me all of those courses with a broader range. I can also filter by course type. So if I select virtual, that's going to bring up our Headcase and TackleSafe e-learning courses, which are prerequisites for quite a few courses we run now, so people may need to access those. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to try and find a safeguarding course. I'm going to select the Play It Safe at Pulborough. So from there, it gives me an idea of the number of spaces available, when the course is actually taking place, so it's between 7 and 10 at Pulborough Rugby Club, and there's some terms and conditions, and finally the cost. So I'll press book. That gives me an option to select myself, or in this case my mum, so obviously I'm going to book myself onto this course. But if I was an adult with a child, I could either select myself for that course or the child, and then I just simply add it to my basket, which you can see there. Worth noting that tickets won't be available if people don't meet the prerequisites, so we see this a lot on the coaching and refereeing award. If they haven't got Headcase or they're not the right age, it simply won't allow them to book tickets. So please make sure that they've met the prerequisites before they try and purchase a place on the course, otherwise it won't let them do that. Obviously I'd then follow the usual sort of checkout procedures and enter my card details. So that's how I'd book onto a course, and I'd get a confirmation email to confirm my place. I could also use the education tab to see what my status was on that course.
So hopefully that's been useful in showing you the individual process for booking a course. And like we mentioned right at the start, the individual currently registers themselves to the course and pays at the point of booking. And then the second part of that video was around the education and qualifications tab. And following some feedback from yourselves in the game, we appreciate there's some work to be done on tidying that up, and we're undertaking that work at the minute. So we'll obviously update further in the future, but as a basic sort of overview of what we're covering off at the minute is we're trying to get the list of about 1,800 qualifications down at the minute to around about 70. So there's a big pooling process going on to match qualifications up. And then the idea being that any course that's accredited by the RFU, so anything that we deliver, will appear under the qualifications tab. And like I said, that will help us to clean up the data, and that'll be the qualifications that pull through to the training report. Ultimately, the education tab will remain as an overview of the booking process, and then we'll also add a new tab around self-service, which will be where you can access information about your club members' external qualifications, and I guess the biggest one there is around first aid. So like I said, we'll update on that in a little bit more detail as and when that upgrade's done, but we'll obviously communicate that to you. So now just going to show you another quick video on how to run a club training report. So for those that aren't familiar with that process, this little next demo video will take you through that step by step and give you an idea about how you can access the qualifications for your coaches, referees, volunteers in one place.
So at a club level, club administrators can also check the qualifications and education of all of those in their club that are assigned to teams. So to do that, they can head to the 9 dots in the top left-hand corner and then select Organisational Profile. in the left-hand toolbar there, you can see reports. So for the purposes of this quick demo, we're just going to look at Canby Island. So I'm going to select reports. And so long as they've assigned the individual coaches to their teams or the individual volunteers, so you can now select first aider, team manager as further examples. I can select club training report and then press run report. This will then give the club an overview of the coaches that they've assigned to different teams and then which qualifications they've got based on coaching, refereeing, safeguarding, medical. It also gives them an update on their DBS status and expiry. If you think back to the example earlier where we showed the difference between qualifications and education, we still have some courses that don't have qualifications associated to them. So we're doing some work at the minute to update that, and we're working through a list of about 1,800 qualifications and trying to get it down to about 35. So when the new update comes on the training report, it will only pull through current qualifications that are recognised by us, as opposed to a lot of the self-service stuff that you see coming through at the minute, which confuses the report. So once the qualification update is complete, we'll obviously communicate that with you, but should hopefully make this an even more useful document for clubs to use to determine which courses people have accessed and whether they're current or not.
And again, hopefully that's given you an idea about what that process currently looks like and the value of it to you to get an oversight of the training needs and the training that's already taken at your club with your volunteers. Worth also adding that although the new training report will only pull through RFU qualifications, there'll still be an option to filter by self-service through the Everyone page. So at the minute, again, that includes that list of 1,800 qualifications, which is quite cumbersome to navigate and filter, especially for those that have achieved external awards. So we'll be doing some work to tidy up that process as well, to enable you to be able to better filter that through the Everyone tab. So hopefully that's given you an idea on the current process. So what it looks like for an individual booking a course, and then how a club can sort of organise and manage their people through the training report. So on the back of that being our current process, we got some feedback from the game, which I'll flash up here. So obviously with the individuals paying for themselves at the point of booking, it's meant organisations haven't been able to play for multiple places at once. So that's led to an increased admin burden on club treasurers and those trying to coordinate training for their clubs, because they're having to manually reimburse those individuals. So that's led to some inefficiencies in terms of how clubs allocate their funding to those that want to access training. There's also some potential barriers around individuals accessing courses due to finance. So hopefully the new process will overcome that. It's really important here to note that this new course vouchers system doesn't replicate the old group booking function. So previously, clubs would have been invoiced for a set number of places and then supplied us with RFU IDs that we'd have manually uploaded to the course. Thinking back to our first point on individuals taking care of their data and that being a really important function for us in terms of improving the quality of what's on GMS, the organisation would apply the finance to the individual's account as opposed to group booking manually through us. So the individual, instead of paying at the point of booking with a card, would pay at the point of booking with the voucher code, but they'd still be responsible for registering themselves on the course. Because again, that gives us cleaner data and enables individuals to access their account and continue that process. So what is the new process? We've touched on it a little bit there. So I'm going to play another demo video in a second, which talks about a club administrator. So that would be a club or a CB volunteer who's taking care of the training needs of its members, and they'd be able to allocate funding to an individual. And then the second user you'll see is the club user. So that's the club volunteer that's trying to access the training itself, and it will show how they use a voucher code to book onto the system. Worth noting here that we've done some extensive testing on this already with both internal and external stakeholders, and that involves both some logic testing, which is based around some persona profiles, which we tested with, again, internal and external stakeholders. And then secondly, a bit of a soft launch with the game. So the functionality was live for about 10 days with a certain number of CBs and clubs. And I think over 100 vouchers were deployed and used by individuals to book onto courses. So we've done that persona testing and then some soft launch testing with the game, which has proved successful. So I'm just going to play this video now, which again shows you an overview of the process, the new process, and what it looks like.
So once I've logged in using the test information provided by Matt, I'll land on Woking RFC's dashboard. And then from there, if I scroll down, I'll see the organisation I'm associated to, and then an option to buy products. And there you can see some pre-formatted discount voucher codes that we've created for the purposes of testing. So for the purposes of this test, I'm just going to add a £20 discount to the England Rugby Coaching Award. Obviously, these might look a little bit different when we actually create the products for the live market, if you like. So I'm going to put in 2 vouchers, which equals £40. I'm going to check out. This page basically confirms my order, so I've got the 2 vouchers in there and then my details for payment. So I'm going to select Pay Now. And there you can see the order's been completed. So I've got my confirmed 2 vouchers there that I've purchased as an administrator at Woking RFC. So I'm going to press Finish. This is going to take me back to the main Woking dashboard. So I'm just going to select the 9 dots to make sure I'm back on Woking RFC. Once that's loaded up, I'm going to go back to the 9 dots and then I'm going to select the Finance tab. From there you can see the left side toolbar there with the addition of vouchers that wasn't previously there. So I'm going to select that. And then you can see some test vouchers there that we've tried before. And then you can see the 2 Coaching Award vouchers that I've paid for at the bottom there. So what I can do with these is I can select it, and then I can assign it to an individual, as you can see in the top toolbar there. So I'll select that. And then the user for this test is Woking user, so I'm just going to search for that person. And there you go, that comes up. I'm just going to press Save. So if I scroll back down, I can see my 2 vouchers, and I've assigned one of them to Woking user. Once the Woking user, so i.e. the club person, club coach, books onto the course, I, as the club administrator, would get the event code and the event name, so I could see that they've actually used that voucher for the intended course. So now I'm signing in effectively as the club coach. And again, I'll come to the main dashboard when I do that. So now I'm on the users page. I can see here I've got 1 unused voucher under activity for the England Rugby Coaching Award. So I'm now going to find myself a course. And I'm going to sign up to the England Rugby Coaching Award at Walton. That confirms the details and the dates that I want to book on, so press book. And then I can see the tickets on the left hand side, so I'm just going to add that to my basket. Agree the waiver, and I'm going to check out. And if I scroll up to the top, I can see the order there. And I can see here also that I've got a discount voucher of £20 to the England Rugby Coaching Award. So I'm going to add that to my order, which will effectively subtract the £20 off the total. So now you can see it's 55. Just agree the policy's there. Check my card details. I'm going to press Pay Now. As simple as that. So the order's been confirmed. The individual has only effectively paid £55 for the course because the voucher's been applied.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you an overview of the functionality as it exists. Worth noting, I guess, at this stage that for the purposes of testing there, we only used partial discount vouchers. And we're guessing probably that the 90% of transactions here are going to be for clubs wanting to pay for 100% value of a course. So when you go into this system, when you go into this new process, you'll see that each course is on the product list with a full cost. That's not to say that we can't change those values, but like I said, we're envisaging about 90% of the usage coming from clubs wanting to pay for full price of courses. So that will look and feel slightly different when you actually go into it and test it. Second thing to note, if there's any CBs on the call, is that a CB can also assign vouchers to another organisation. So as an example, if I was Essex CB, I could buy 100 vouchers and assign 10 to 10 different clubs. And then the individual clubs would then go on and assign them to their members. So the CB wouldn't have to take care of individual IDs. They could just assign it to the organisation as funding and then let them use them. So hopefully that's proved useful and answered a few questions. I'll have a quick look at the chat in a second. But before I do that, hopefully this new process is going to enable the allocation of training funding from clubs to its members much more effectively. And probably more importantly than that for me is that enhanced management of funding through that finance tab. So if a club is given funding by a CB or they've associated £1,000 to club coaching as an example, they can really monitor a return on their investment and see who's accessed what training and when, which is going to help with that those sort of robust conversations in clubs, I guess, around how club finance is spent and who's accessing it. And then, as we mentioned right at the start, by allocating funds to the individual to save them paying through card, we're potentially removing some of those financial barriers for individuals to book onto the course. And probably the most important one, we're saving administrators time, hopefully, on that previous reimbursement process, which was pretty laborious with the individual booking. So before I wrap up, just a few things to remember. So to add permissions level 2 or 5, because they're associated to the finance tab, or if you're a CB, you'll need CB level 3. To assign an individual a voucher, that individual coach, referee, volunteer must be part of my organisation. So if I was a club administrator at Millwall Rugby Club, I could only assign vouchers to members that were already in my club. So I couldn't assign vouchers to Battersea Ironsides as an example, because those individuals wouldn't be a member of my club. And same for CBs, so they'd only be able to assign vouchers to member clubs. They wouldn't be able to assign vouchers to clubs that sit outside their CB. And then, like I mentioned earlier, in the first instance, vouchers will be created for full cost of the full training offer. If there are more bespoke things that you want, or there's a need for sort of 50% of course costs, then you can probably communicate that through the help portal, and we can look at adding some additional products if there's need for that. The only final bit I had before I open up to questions is the functionality is live now, and there are some user guides on the help portal. So hopefully tonight's session and the videos and the demos have been useful, and then you can go and put it into practice if it's something your club want to access in the next, this season. Brilliant. So I'll stop sharing there, and I see there's a decent amount of activity in the chat, but if anybody wants to come off mic and ask a question, then feel free to do so.
Thanks, Matt. Good bit of info there for everyone. We'll do the same format as usual. So if you haven't got a microphone, I think Les is on the call again, so you can type your questions and we can read them out. And if anyone wants to ask a question, then please raise your hand using the raise hand button, and I'll come to you. And I want to try and get as many questions to Matt whilst we've got the expert here as possible. So if we can just have one question per person, and we can always come back to you if you have another question, if that's okay. So we'll kick off now then, really. Does anyone want to come off mic and ask a question? Okay, so we've got one from Rebecca Skinner. Matt, that's come in on the chat. Is the club account debited at the time the voucher's purchased or actually used? Which I think Matt's just answered. Purchased.
So it's purchased, but the individual who's buying the vouchers would need to pay at point of booking. So if I was buying 10 vouchers, I'd need to pay for those all at the point of booking, and then I could allocate them to the individuals.
Okay, no, cheers, Matt. That's good. It's just worth reminding everyone that there is all the information on this on the help portal, and Chloe's kindly put a link there around where to find that extra information. I'm sure all of you may be on the GMS Facebook group, so just a reminder, share some of the guides in there. That would be good to spread the message. Anyone else have a question? Great, Simon. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, just a quick one. Are there any timescales for sorting out the issues between education and qualification? I know it was mentioned, but I don't know what the timescales were on that, because it's causing a lot of confusion at the moment.
I'm not sure in exact timescales, but Matt Holding might be able to advise. But yeah, we're working through it at the minute, Simon, and doing a bit of testing. But Matt might be able to give us a bit more of a time frame on it.
Okay.
Yeah, evening everyone. Simon, I'd say at this point we're looking at this side of Christmas for sure. There's lots of, without boring everyone, there's quite a lot of history there in terms of the qualifications that exist in GMS, and we've, as many of you will be aware, we've enabled the facility for people to upload their own sort of self-service qualifications, and they may have come from say a different union or a different training provider. And that's caused quite an extensive list of qualifications that are recorded in the system. So what we're doing at the moment, as Matt mentioned towards the start of the call, we're aligning the RFU recognised qualifications into that qualifications tab, and then moving everything else out into a combination of a self-service area and the education tab. And what we really want to do there is just provide clarity in terms of what we recognise immediately, and what can be sort of listed against their coaching or refereeing suite of their CV, if you like. The reason we have to do that is that when we map things like prerequisites, we have to ensure that that's an RFU recognised course, obviously. So there's a few sort of steps involved in that, and Matt, myself, and one or two others are working closely with a third-party provider, FSI, to complete that mapping exercise. So long story short, we're hoping for that to happen this side of Christmas, and we'll communicate it via the help portal.
Okay, yeah, cheers. On that the other day, like a third Dan judo qualification was in there the other day, and that's some very weird and wacky stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason I was asking about the education versus qualification was because we were trying to find out what qualifications our coaches have got, and education doesn't appear in the everyone grid, so we can't pull them out, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's just due to how extensive that list could be. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we need to get that refined. We're looking at ways that we could potentially bucket all of those self-service type qualifications into, say, self-service coaching or self-service refereeing or self-service first aid. And at least at that point, you could then, from the everyone grid, search for all individuals that have a self-service qualification of a particular type, rather than having an extensive list available from that selector, which can be quite long from what's there at the moment. So that's something that we're working on, just to see the viability of that at the moment, Simon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for your question, Simon. Question coming in the chat quite a couple of times now, Matt Watts, is if the course gets cancelled, does the club get the refund or the user voucher back?
Yeah, so the club would get that voucher back, and then they could either keep it on the same person, so the same person could then use the voucher to book onto another course, or the club could choose to assign it to a different individual if they wanted to. So that comes back to the management tab in finance.
Great, cheers, Matt. Thanks for that. Any more questions from anyone? Les, if you want to type a question, feel free. Anyone else want to come off mic and ask a question? Okay, we got one from Kate Brown there. How do we request the correct permission level to purchase the voucher?
I could probably take that one. So yeah, thanks for your question, Kate. So anybody at the club that has a level 5 permission already, and that was given to data officers when we introduced the change to roles and permissions, so that could well be that the data officer at your club, they have the ability to go into the organisation admin module, and they can then allocate anybody at the club with a permission level. So I think Chloe might be able to pop the guide into the chat there, that gives you guidance on who to contact at your club and where that can be completed.
Thanks, Matt. One from Les. Can you get a refund if you have more vouchers than people using them?
Are you going to take that, Matt, or do you want me to?
Well, yeah, either or. So I suppose if you purchase more vouchers than you want to give out, then you could probably contact the game development team to understand whether that a refund's applicable there. But obviously that's down to the club as to how many they purchased initially. So that might be a bit of a case-by-case basis, but there's certainly the opportunity for us to refund where appropriate.
Thank you, Matt. One from Sarah Alger. Do e-learning courses and webinars appear on qualifications?
There's a bit of a mixed bag on that one at the minute, Ian, which is part of the tidy up. So all of the ones, again, that we run will soon appear on qualifications, hopefully, and then pull through to the training report. And that will be inclusive of the Kids First ones that are currently on englandrugby.com as opposed to booked through GMS. So as part of that update, all of those e-learning bits will appear on the training report and on qualifications.
Cool, thanks, Matt. And another one from Si Davis in the chat there, just around cards, basically clubs with bank cards, and can we pay for vouchers via direct debit from the account, as some clubs don't want people to have cards?
Not at the minute, no. The only way that someone could pay for a course would be with a club card. Sorry, pay for a voucher would be with a club card. But there are some other options around World Pay and bits that could help overcome that issue. But yeah, it needs to be purchased at the point of booking.
I think what's probably important here is if the club wishes to purchase vouchers from GMS, they use a club card, and those club cards could be, if you have a bank account at your club, you can get a card. If you would prefer not to go down that route, the individual can purchase their own place on the course, and then that could be reimbursed. So from all of the situations that we've looked at there, both of those enable that individual to book onto the course and that funding to happen. So we appreciate there may be the odd outlier in terms of cases there, but we feel that that's covering 99% of all transactions.
No, this is not right. Can I speak? Can you unmute me, please? Hi. This is a problem. There's a lot of clubs that are charity, also registered charities. If you have a registered charity account, they don't just give out bank cards, because it's subject to so many audits and so forth that it's just not possible. A lot of those clubs are in inner city areas where maybe administrators don't have the odd £1,000 sitting in their bank account to pay for somebody's advance award ahead of time, even if they're going to get it reimbursed. It may just not be there. So this is going to cut down, it's going to make it difficult for certain people to access certain courses because of this requirement that it has to be paid by card. It's not helping the diversity and inclusion agenda, which we all are all supposed to be signing up to. It's actually deliberately working against it. And it's a problem. It's a problem for me, and it's a problem for my club. It's a problem for other clubs in my area in Middlesex. So I think it needs to be, GMS needs to serve the clubs, not the other way around. And I think that's GMS is serving the club. GMS is serving the clubs, Mary. We're seeing a vast number of bookings there. We appreciate that there are some scenarios there, as you've outlined. We can pick that up and understand if we can investigate more options there in terms of how we enable that. But certainly we feel that that's covering the vast majority of cases. But we're listening to what you say. It is an important issue. The clubs that are in these areas are the clubs that are charged, particularly with increasing diversity and inclusion amongst volunteers. It's no point just attracting participants. We have to attract volunteers from different socioeconomic groups, and we currently have. This is not going to help that process at all. And we're going to find ourselves in a Yorkshire Cricket Club situation. if we don't do something about it.
Thanks, Mary, for your thoughts on that and your opinions, and we'll work to look at that and solutions that may be possible. All right, thank you, Mary. I've got Neil's hand up there.
Hello, it's Neil. I'm the safeguarding manager for Middlesex. This is just really to Mary. Mary, an option would be, obviously these vouchers are brand new. Now, I would be happy to start to think about going to the CB to buy on behalf of the club the vouchers. So this is a way round. So this voucher scheme is a step forward. I know it's not perfect, but it's certainly a step forward. Let's have a conversation offline and see if we can work out a way that Middlesex can buy on behalf of clubs that have got CAF accounts, therefore not these, and then allocate them to the clubs, as was being said earlier in the training session. Do you think that would work for you, Mary?
Thanks, Neil. That's great for Middlesex, but it needs to be available to everybody wherever they are. I mean, it's great. That's really generous, and I'm sure it will help. But it needs to be a national situation. It doesn't need to be something that we have to solve in little pockets.
No, I realise, but also this is. I think the vouchers is a huge step forward for, let's just say, 60% of people within the RFU. Whereas before every single person had to pay it ahead of time. The voucher system is at least a step forward. I think we've got a working way that we can do it for Middlesex, and I'm sure other counties, other CBs can work it that way. At least it's a step forward that we can make it accessible to the inner city boroughs now via the CB, rather than no one having the opportunity to do that previously. So let's take it to the next meeting. I'll speak to you offline about it, if that helps, Mary.
Okay, all right. I mean, this doesn't seem to me to address the business of having to pay out your own funds, but if we got a CB workaround, that would help massively. But it seems to me that it still needed to be thought about in the design of this, rather than us having to work around it. I'm sadly having to leave now, but it's been very nice chatting to you all, and I'll look forward to getting the recording later on. Thanks very much for your help.
Cheers, Mary.
Nice.
Thanks everyone, and thanks Mary. I think it's also important to realise here that this isn't necessarily a system issue. This is a decision around sort of how we capture funds. So we can absolutely have those conversations internally. But thanks Neil for your input there in terms of the role of the CB, which will absolutely help. Yeah.
Thanks, Neil. Is there anyone else with any other questions? Good to see. Notice Rebecca's put in there that you have a bank card and you are a cask club. So yeah, that's helpful. Thanks for sharing that, Rebecca. Anyone else with any questions that they want to ask? Anything that Matt Watts has said tonight, or Matt Holding said tonight that you're unsure of, or going forward, or you want to tell your members at your club about? Stephen, I think you got your hand up there, or maybe not. Maybe just no, just waving at the wife to get rid of the tea. No, that's fine. Anyone else with any questions? If not, Chris, my colleague, is just going to pop in a feedback form in the chat for you guys. It takes about 40 seconds to complete, but it helps us to shape these sessions moving forward. I'll just give him a couple of seconds to put it in. There we go. So it's there. It'd be great if you could fill that in for us. It helps us with those sessions. But thank you very much for joining us tonight and giving up your Wednesday evening. This recording will go on YouTube post-event, so you'll be able to access it. Please share with other members of your club or people that you think may be worth seeing, and look out for those portal guides. They're really useful. If you think there's any feedback on those portal guides that they need changing to make it better for the club user, then please feedback, submit a help ticket on the help portal, and we can have a look at that. I've just seen a question from Neil just come in around GMS training, and that is something that we are looking at around what that looks like over the next few months. So don't worry, watch this space. There will be some stuff coming out for clubs around support available and what that looks like across the country, whether that's virtual or some face-to-face stuff as well. So we are looking at that. It is on the cards, don't worry. And we understand the needs that are there. Cheers, Neil. Great. If there's no more questions and no more hands up, I think we shall end the session. Don't forget to fill in that feedback form for me. That'd be awesome. And hopefully we shall see you all on next week's session, same time, 6 till 7. And it again will be recorded if people can't attend. I think Simon Davis got the record for attending all of them. So well done, Simon. We'll hope to see you next week. We hope to see you all next week. Thank you very much.